do. Darling, I'm feeling so cool. Obviously, since this is a mental health podcast, there are some disclaimers I have to go through. First of all, I am not a medical professional. I am just a girl with a passion and years of experience and a psych degree. So please take what you want, leave the rest, and speak with a medical professional if you do need medical advice. Also, this is a very real podcast. It will be uncensored. I will try and bleep out some cuss words, but I cannot guarantee that all will be. With that, if you have any little ears around, please be cognizant. And also, I will be speaking on some pretty sensitive topics. So please listen only when and if it feels right for you. Finally, I do have the mental health hotline. If you need to speak with anyone, they are around 24/7, and their number is 844-685-7030. I used to work for them. They're super helpful. Please give them a call. Welcome back, everyone, to Be Well with Alex. I missed you guys. It was really weird taking an off week because normally I record and then it takes me like a week to edit, and then the episode comes out the following week. So it's really more like 2 weeks. So it felt like a long time since I've last talked with you guys, but that just makes me excited and shows how much passion I have for this. Also, it's my birthday today. For me, I'm one of those people where, and maybe this is main character energy, the emo girl who's like, I don't care about my birthday. To me, my birthday is just another day, but I still do like to celebrate me. Typically on my birthday, I do work, but I also spend my time doing normal things I enjoy in regards to my routine. With that, I would not be here today if this was something that I did not enjoy, because again, I like to do things I enjoy. Typically, that looks like I'll get up, I'll make myself some sort of special breakfast like pancakes. I'll go to work because if I'm in a job that I love, it doesn't feel like work to me. And then I come home, maybe I have cake. Well, I'm going to have cake later for sure, for snack or for dessert. And then I go work out. Again, all these things I enjoy. Working out to me doesn't feel like a chore. It's something I actually genuinely enjoy today. So I'll do that. Maybe have a nice dinner with Bae, watch my favorite movie or show, or go to bed. That's typically what my birthday looks like. Tomorrow, because as some of you know, I am without a job right now, which we'll get into during Lemons and Mangoes. I'm without a job right now. So I think tomorrow I'm actually going to take the full day. I'm going to go to the beach, get a massage using a gift card that I have left over, and make it a really nice day for myself. But today there was too much to do. So I'm here with you. I digress. Today we will not be talking about my birthday. Today we will be talking about body dysmorphia. I've had this one requested by a lot of people, and I personally have not struggled with body dysmorphia myself. Of course, I have struggled with self-esteem issues when it comes to my body, but this one, honestly, I can't relate to as much as other topics. With that, I will still try to do it justice based off of the research that I have done and also my experiences around body image, etc. Just keep that in mind as you're listening to this episode. Let's get into our mangoes and lemons. My mango is that it's my birthday. And also, I got my hair colored if you're watching the video. I haven't had colored hair, unnaturally colored hair, since college. I was just feeling bold. I've been wanting to do it for quite some time now, but working in corporate America, typically, I wouldn't say it's frowned upon, but it is still a taboo in a lot of these workplaces that I work in, and I never want people to think I'm unprofessional, or unfortunately, even with my age in the profession that I'm in, sometimes there's a bit of ageism going on as well. So I try and act very mature for my age. Heck, I am very mature for my age. Point being, I feel like colored hair, sometimes older folks, they look down upon it, or it makes me seem more immature or younger, and I never want to be perceived that way. So I was playing by the social norms, the old school social norms, in keeping my hair a natural color. But I said, screw it. This time I really, really missed the pink. So I decided to do a little bit of pink underneath. It's supposed to wash out into this pretty rose gold color, but it is a little rocker right now. I don't think my parents love it. I love it personally. I think it's so fun. My boyfriend loves it. My friends love it. Yeah, my parents are kind of old school. I don't think they're very on board. I remember I went to my mom's house when I first got it done. I didn't tell anyone I was getting it done. I just went to the salon. Austin was on a camping trip at the time, and I was going to meet him the next day. So even he had no idea that I was doing this. My mom saw it first. I went to my house right after I got it done to pick something up. My mom took one look at my hair and she goes, "Oh, you cut your hair." And she just nods. "You cut it." She didn't mention the color or anything. And then I went to see my dad after that just for help with my taxes because I'm just a girl, I still need daddy to help me do my taxes. Although I think next year I should be able to do them all on my own. So I'm pretty proud of that. But yeah, I went to go see my dad. I show up. He was just looking at my hair the whole time. He didn't say a peep, because he tries really hard not to say anything to hurt or offend me these days. He's very sensitive around what he says around me just after everything with the disorder. He was trying so hard to look anywhere but my hair, but he was just staring it down. Didn't say anything like, "Oh, honey, I love your cut. I love your color." Nope. But I don't care because I love it. And I'm in that confident mode today where one, it shouldn't even be a taboo anymore because I feel like tattoos and colored hair and things of that nature, they are becoming less of a taboo. And it doesn't say anything about my character. It's just an artistic form of expression. It's not like I went either and got this huge cross or anything tattooed across my body, no religious symbols, but I feel like people, again, still kind of frown upon these things, just not as much as they used to. Where I was going with that is trying to break the stigma. Don't really care right now. It's hair. I can go back to natural next time if I want to, but I like it. So that's my mango. I dyed my hair and it's my birthday. My lemon is that most of you know I am no longer with LJA, the company that I worked for. I don't want to share a whole lot on that right now, but I will be doing, I'm sure, a whole episode on that in the future, what that has looked like since. I don't know if it really is a lemon though. It is and it isn't. Of course, no one likes being unemployed. I love and value financial security for myself. Yeah, it's nice to have someone take care of you. And I do want that kind of old school relationship as well, where I have someone who can be the provider for me. But at the same time, I want to be secure in knowing that I can make my own income for myself so that I don't have to rely on anyone else. And I take a lot of pride in that. So I think that's more my lemon there is just I have money saved up. I'm not in trouble right now. It's still scary not having a source of income coming in. And I don't particularly want to do something like DoorDash or anything like that. So I guess that's the lemon part of it. And also the mental and emotional turmoil that led me here is the lemon as well. But there's some positives also, considering I have been thinking about going back to school and maybe even taking a career change, which I've been considering for quite some time now. I'm good at HR. I do enjoy some aspects of HR, but I think this last experience and even the experience before that tainted how I feel maybe about the company specifically that I was in, more that corporate America feel. Maybe I need to be looking for other companies. But at the same time, I do feel called to perhaps go into more of a helping role, which how I originally felt in HR, but I'm not feeling that way today. So more to come on that. Don't really know what I'm doing right now. I'm just applying to HR jobs full and part-time, depending on whether or not I want to go back to school. And then I'm looking at different schools and weighing my options there as well. That's where we're at right now. Again, more on that to come. That's my lemons and mangoes. Last thing I want to say before I dive into body dysmorphia, I'm going to try really hard to keep this episode unedited and chaotic today. I did notice last episode, and maybe that's just because of the stress that I was in the world, I tend to dig my nails into those perfectionist tendencies. I'm going to try not to do that this episode and just let it be chaotic because that is the true me. And I want this episode and this podcast to be as authentic as possible. So that's where we're coming from today. Might be a lot of filler words, might be a lot of rabbit holes, tangents, but I don't care because we're back to being authentically me. Okay, on with the episode. Let's talk about body dysmorphia. I assume when you click on one of my episodes, you either struggle with the topic that I'm speaking on yourself, maybe you know someone who does, or you simply want to learn more about the topic. I know I do. When I am tuning into other people's podcasts, or even when I'm choosing what episodes I want to do myself, it's always something that I know I want to learn more about, or I know that I'm going to enjoy speaking on or informing more people about. However, at the same time, I never want to assume that everyone knows everything about the topic I'm speaking on. That's why I tend to speak in layman's terms when it comes to these things and do my research because one, I don't know everything, and two, I don't want to assume that you know everything. That's why we start with our definitions. Our definition here, what exactly is body dysmorphia? I had an idea in my head, but I wanted to look it up to make sure that I was on the right track. Body dysmorphic disorder, or otherwise known as BDD, which I'll refer to it during this episode as body dysmorphia. This is a mental health condition where a person spends a copious amount of time worrying about their flaws in their appearance that are often unnoticeable to others. This isn't just someone looking in the mirror saying that a certain body part looks large and then walking away and they forget about it until they look in the mirror again. No, this is a serious mental health condition that can consume 3 to 8 hours daily, leading to compulsive behaviors, extreme depression, and significant disruption in daily life, work, and relationships. I feel like for a lot of the disorders, specifically in the DSM-5, is it 5 or 6 these days? I think it's still 5, DSM-5. One of the main attributes is that whatever is listed in that book, it has to cause significant impairment to someone's daily life and the way that they function. BDD is exactly that. Think about how much time you look in the mirror during the day and you pick apart your body or your image. If you don't struggle with something like this, maybe it's a couple minutes a day. It's definitely not 3 to 8 hours. That's a long time. 8 hours is a full workday for some people. So some people are going to work and their whole workday, they're just thinking about their body. Put it into that mindset as we're going through this. As I mentioned before, I have never personally struggled with BDD, so even I didn't know that it could take this much time out of someone's day. I thought they had obsessive thoughts around this, but maybe it came and went and it was a good 10 to 15 minutes out of someone's day. Definitely not 3 to 8 hours. As someone who struggled with obsessive food noise and thinking about food all day, every day, that's the only tape that's playing in my head. Now that I can relate to. That's how I understand how these obsessive thoughts can be so detrimental to someone's daily life and impair the way that they function. Because when I was thinking about food, it distracted me from everything. It distracted me from work, from relationships. It kept me in. It kept me always thinking about the next thing I was going to eat and doing calculations in my head. And it caused me a lot of anxiety when I went to sit down at meals and I was trying to figure out what the perfect meal was going to be. Sometimes I would get so anxious that I wouldn't eat at all. And then it got to the point where it was like that every day. That was a significant impairment on my life. That's how I relate it in my head to someone with BDD, how they're looking in the mirror and they're picking apart their bodies constantly, and that can cause significant impairment on their life. Another example that I thought of, think about if you've ever had a big presentation. You at least know what that feels like or what that could feel like. If all you ever thought about was that big presentation from the moment you woke up in the morning to the moment your head hit the pillow at night, all you thought about was that. Your coworkers, they would try and talk with you, and in the back of your mind, all you would be thinking is, I don't have time for this. I don't have time for these other tasks going on. I have this big presentation coming up. That's all I can think about right now. That's all that's preoccupying my mind. And then when your coworkers notice you're distracted, they would ask you, hey, what's going on? You would say, sorry, guys, I've been distracted. I have this big presentation coming up. It's all I can think about. What presentation? They would say, there's nothing big about this presentation. You present every day during our team meetings, and it's a big part of your job. It's nothing new. But even though you know that and you know they're right, you don't know why you can't stop thinking about this presentation and stressing over this presentation and wanting to perfect every single detail. That's what these obsessive, uncontrollable thoughts look like. They may not be logical even to you, but you still can't help but think about them. From the time you wake up in the morning, from the time you go to bed at night. Full cycle. Then after the obsessive thoughts come the compulsive behaviors. What prompts the compulsive behaviors? These are things such as picking apart your finished presentation to make sure that there's no errors on it. Going over it and over it again, sending it to multiple people and them telling you, it's perfect, you don't have to keep checking this. But up until the minute before you give that big presentation, you're still checking for errors. That's those compulsive behaviors. Now take that and apply it to BDD. Think about the big presentation as you thinking about your body, and think about those compulsive behaviors as you picking apart parts of your body that are flawed. If that tape is running over and over in your mind all day, every day, don't you understand how that can cause a lot of anxiety, a lot of pressure that you put on yourself to be perfect? Maybe that gives you a better visual. I know it did for me. How does BDD start? I always like talking about how disorders start because it goes back to that nature versus nurture argument. I feel like there's that argument for every disorder out there. If you don't know what I'm talking about, look up nature versus nurture psychology, and then you can see essentially there are some psychologists who think that you get certain disorders or you're predisposed to them from birth, meaning you have some sort of genetic predisposition from your family that is going to contribute to you having these disorders later in life. All you need is a trigger to bring it out. That's the nature argument. The nurture argument is that it doesn't matter what's going on up here. There's probably nothing chemical going on in your brain that contributes to you developing these disorders. All of it is societal. All of it has to do with your environment, your upbringing, etc. No one else in your family can have these disorders, but you can still develop them yourself. That's the nurture argument. You have to decide which you believe. There's ample evidence for both. Personally, I believe that it's both combined. I believe that for a lot of disorders, maybe not all of them, but for a lot, you start with that genetic predisposition, meaning someone else in your family has had this in the past, and that's passed on to you. And then also, it takes that trigger and those environmental factors to bring it out and to get you into that cycle. That's personally what I believe, even with BDD, but again, you got to figure out what works for you. Let's go through both. Nature. How does BDD start? If you have a family history of body dysmorphic disorder or even obsessive compulsive disorder, OCD, it increases your risk as well as potential abnormal levels of brain chemicals such as serotonin. We love our too much serotonin babies or too little. Therefore, you can have a predisposition towards BDD, but it's not necessary. That's where the nurture argument comes in. BDD really starts with a trigger or series of triggers. Those triggers can be anything from, unfortunately, social media these days, kids getting on there so young and seeing all these face-tuned people that do not have realistic body types, realistic faces, realistic beauty standards. That can be a trigger for them, and then they realize, why don't I look like that girl? How do I look like that girl? And as hard as they try, they're not going to look like that girl because those girls have all the filters on, etc. That's an example of a trigger. Series of triggers, maybe a parent growing up telling you that no matter what, you're never going to be pretty enough, you're never going to be able to slim down enough, etc. That can be a series of triggers. But first, what happens is a perceived physical flaw develops, often during puberty or after a traumatic event. I want to talk about that first step because I have some other examples. Here's an example on the parent commenting on your body. I will admit I did have a little bit of this myself growing up, so I can put myself in that person's shoes who might have also struggled with this. Imagine you mention hating your stomach while on your period. You're at the beach, you feel a little bloated, you don't think you look the best in your swimsuit, and you're just complaining to your mom about how much you hate your stomach. Instead of your mom saying, oh, honey, that's normal. That's a part of period bloat. You just have a little bit of extra water weight going on there. Completely normal. It'll be gone in a week or two. You look great. I actually love that color on you. Instead of your mom saying something like that, she says, well, honey, you have been eating a lot of chips today and chocolate. Maybe we just put those away for a bit. Eat a salad with mommy at dinner. Let's go to Pilates tomorrow. Let's try and just work off some of that junk you've been eating. Then when you go back, you look in the mirror and you say, Mom's right. I really need to start dieting. And that's how I'm going to look better in this swimsuit. You see how that can get into someone's head and then they start down that vicious cycle. What does that vicious cycle look like? Well, we have the perceived flaw. I don't look slim like some of these other swimsuit models. Mom agrees. How do I get there? Mom says, I need to exercise. I need to diet. I take that to the extreme. This is where operant conditioning or maintenance comes in. Operant conditioning is where compulsive behaviors such as excessive movement, mirror checking, or mirror avoidance temporarily reduces stress, creating a negative reinforcement loop that strengthens the disorder over time. So maybe you put one of those pictures up on your wall of one of those Tumblr girls. Do they have Tumblr anymore? Am I dating myself? I never even told you all my age, but now maybe you can guess. Yeah, Tumblr girls were a thing back in the day. Basically, what a Tumblr girl is, it's these girls who I would even call them Instagram girls these days, or skinny talk girls. They had these very slim, slender bodies that were unhealthily slim and slender that girls would idolize and unfortunately do things such as not eat in order to achieve that bony, unhealthy look. Sad, but that was a thing back in my day. Maybe you put an Instagram model or someone who has that hourglass shape that you want up on your wall. And you're like, I'm going to do 100 push ups and 100 sit ups every day until I look like that girl. I'm not going to eat anything with fat. I'm going to cut out all heavy calorie meals until I look like that girl. And that's how it starts. And then after that, you're noticing maybe you've lost a little bit of weight, some of that water weight from your period, but you're still not getting that hourglass shape that that girl has. Even though your body, it's really genetically predispositioned to have more of a pear shape or more of a square shape, as we all do have different body types. But you're like, no, I have to get to that shape. So then you start going to the gym for 2+ hours a day. Now you're hardly eating anything at dinner. And now your parents are actually getting concerned. They're saying, honey, you're looking a lot better, reinforcing that loop. But maybe, let's try and get some protein in there. I'm worried. You're starting to look a little pale, a little sickly. But you don't listen because that's the body that you now want to achieve and you're aiming for. And every time you look in the mirror, you just can't stop seeing those larger body parts, that stomach. So again, you get those obsessive thoughts and then those compulsive behaviors come in to reinforce that negative loop. How does someone see something that isn't truthfully there in body dysmorphic disorder? Because I was so curious about this. Looking in the mirror, there have been days where I look at my body and I say, I'm not really happy with this part of me. I'm not really happy with how my skin looks. I'm not really happy with how my tummy looks, etc. I feel like a lot of girls and guys, they do pick themselves apart like that. We're human. We pick apart our bodies because that's what society tells us we need to be doing in order to reach a certain body or beauty standard. However, when I look in the mirror, I don't necessarily look and think that things are larger than they are. At least I don't think I do. I feel like I would know if I was doing that. Maybe that's something else I need to research. I don't know if people with BDD actually know that they're not seeing what's actually there. But anyways, how do they see these flaws exaggerated about themselves that we personally don't see as outsiders looking in? People with BDD see non-existent flaws because their brains process visual information abnormally, prioritizing little details over the big picture. I like this explanation. Again, when I research things though, I like to get into the nitty-gritty and know the how, and I'm still not really getting the how here. Brain studies show that individuals with BDD have lower activation in areas responsible for the holistic, big picture visual processing. Now that's really interesting. Instead, they focus excessively on fine details, causing them to fixate on specific isolated features like skin texture, I mentioned that one, nose shape, or hair. I love it when I get more questions from questions. That just gave me so many more questions in my head. I think I know the answer to this, but if it's brain chemical related, is there then a medicinal fix for BDD? Personally, I'm not one to jump to meds right away as a solution, at least not without any form of talk therapy or other methods that can get to the root cause of the issue. I feel like meds are often prescribed as a band-aid to root issues. Now, before you slay me for that, I'm not saying that all meds are bad and to steer clear of meds entirely or to drop your antidepressants tomorrow. I would never do that myself. I would never tell you to do that. I'm on a couple life-saving drugs right now that I don't think I would be able to live happily without. At the same time, I also do forms of therapy at the side to tackle the root issues that are going on, and then the meds just balance out some chemicals in my brain that are different from other people because, again, we all have different brain chemistry. So it just helps me function, quote, normally, end quote, and helps regulate my mood more. What I'm getting at here is the two can go hand in hand. I'm just saying meds should supplement, add to, not replace any form of talk therapy where the long-term work actually gets done. Still, I'm curious what meds are out there for BDD to help regulate that brain chemistry for someone. Selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, or SSRIs. Feel like this is a pretty commonly prescribed form of drug. These can help. Again, to me, there was no surprise there, especially if BDD and OCD are related, which we'll get into in a second. However, I cannot pronounce this, but I'm going to do my best. You know what? I'm going to look up how to pronounce this because I did not do this earlier. Fluoxetine? Fluoxetine. I think it's fluoxetine. How to pronounce. Ready for this? I'm going to try and turn it up.
Fluoxetine.
Oh, butcher that one.
Fluoxetine.
Fluoxetine. Does not look like it's spelled that way, but whatever. Fluoxetine Prozac is most commonly used. What are SSRIs? SSRIs increase serotonin to reduce the intensity of obsessive thoughts and compulsive behaviors. This is mainly used for OCD. Myself included, I take SSRIs for OCD. Won't tell you which ones. This is another rabbit hole that I'm going to go down real quick. I tend to not tell people what medications I take only because I was in an eating disorder anonymous meeting one time. And I was telling people what I took because they helped save my life. And because of that, I wanted to preach that to other people. Someone jumped in and said, no, we don't share what medications we're on here because one medication for you might not actually work for someone else. It might make them worse. So we recommend that they reach out to a medical professional, which is what I tell you guys all the time. I'm sitting here today because I'm trying to break the taboo around mental health. I want to spread more positivity and let people know that they're not alone as they're going through whatever mental health issues they're going through. That's why I'm doing this today. You know, I'm not a medical professional. I don't want to tell you what medications to take because you have to find which ones work best for you. I hope that while you're listening to my podcast, you are taking things with a grain of salt and doing your own research because that's just going to benefit you in the long run. And again, with all this aside, I'm glad you're listening. I'm glad you're getting informed, but there's always more work to be done. There's always more knowledge to get around these topics. I just want to help get the conversation started. You should not be looking at any of these medications if you struggle with BDD without going through your doctor. All right, let's continue. So SSRIs, as I mentioned, those increase serotonin levels to reduce the intensity of obsessive thoughts and compulsive behaviors, since BDD and OCD are related. And then fluoxetine, did I do it right that time? Prozac also increases serotonin to decrease the intensity of obsessive thoughts regarding perceived flaws. So it sounds like they work similarly. It's just whichever your body agrees with more. And it sounds like with the Prozac, it has to do with more of the aspect regarding those perceived physical flaws than the compulsive behaviors. Again, talk to your doctor about this. Those are just some medicinal options that I was curious about. And now you know. Before I get into what also helps outside of medicine, that made me think and wonder, well, how similar are BDD and OCD? Why are they not classified as the same thing? I looked it up. Is BDD a form of OCD? Technically, no. Body dysmorphic disorder is not a form of OCD, but they are related. They're in the same family. OCD, as I mentioned before, stands for obsessive compulsive disorder. If you want to learn more about that disorder, I am going to be talking about that. If not next week, then the week after. Bro, people keep sending me things today, which is so nice, but also I'm trying to record here. I'll go get that later. I'm excited to see what it is, though. Maybe it's a tweet. Maybe it's a sweet tweet. Although it's going to have cake after this. Maybe it's more sweet tweets I can add to the cake. Okay, moving on. For the purposes of this episode, BDD and OCD share those similarities of obsession and compulsion, but body dysmorphia focuses exclusively on perceived physical flaws, whereas OCD has a broader focus. That makes more sense. BDD is separate from OCD because they wanted to break it away due to the obsessive thoughts being and compulsive behaviors being entirely due to what you see in the mirror, those physical traits, those physical flaws. Still wonder why BDD wouldn't be a subcategory of OCD then. I did not look that up, but I'm going to look that up later because I'm curious. I'll let you know what I find on my Instagram. What are your other options outside of medicine? Because again, medicine, me personally, I feel like it just puts a Band-Aid on the root issue. We really need to tackle that negative loop also going on in your mind. That can't be done just by medicine. Cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, is the most effective talk therapy. I used this for OCD myself in the past. In cognitive behavioral therapy, the gist is you work with a mental health professional to replace those negative thoughts and thought patterns with positive thoughts. Easier said than done, right? Let's break it down further because I remember when my mom was dragging me to CBT for the first time, I was like, what does that even mean? Like, how does someone even do that? What, am I just gonna look in the mirror and say, oh, I love myself now? No, it doesn't work like that. In Alex's terms, this is how CBT works. You show up and you set a goal with your therapist, such as, I want to look in the mirror and see what other people see because I feel like I always look larger than people are telling me that I am. That's your goal. Then in the next 6 to 20 sessions, I'm going to say or more here. That's what it said online, 6 to 20 sessions. I took years of CBT because I needed it, but maybe you can do it in 6 to 20 sessions. What do I know? In those sessions, your therapist will help you identify the negative thought patterns, challenge cognitive distortions, and practice new skills through, yes, homework. Why do we have homework? Because we cannot break that obsessive compulsive cycle in 1 hour once a week. This is a loop that plays in your head daily. So with that, we have to practice daily on counteracting that. Yes, you're going to have homework. But Alex, I don't listen to you for logical solutions. I listen to you for shortcuts. Too bad, so sad, sister. I told you I'm always going to keep it 100 with you. This is hard work. Think about it. You're re-recording over a tape that you've been playing in your mind for years. Don't you want to get rid of that tape for good? Don't you want that peace, that silence that comes with getting those negative thoughts, that tornado out of your head and out into the world so you don't have to worry about it anymore? That's going to take work. That's going to take time. That is going to be so worth your work and your time. If you still have an excuse like therapy's too expensive, I can't afford to see a psychiatrist, a therapist, etc., I got more answers for you. I get it. When I found that I could stop the negative loop in my head of food noise, food obsession, of back in the day, those OCD swirling thoughts of never feeling good enough, I wanted to start now. I wanted to start today because those thoughts were crippling. There were times where, at least around OCD, I was in my room curled in a ball, not knowing what my next decision was going to be because I didn't know how to work out the jumble of thoughts swirling in my head. That's why my mom was so adamant about taking me to a therapist and working that ball of yarn out so that I could actually function. I remember those days. I don't want to go back to those days. I understand why you want to get started today. And maybe it's hard to find a therapist in your network that you can afford, that isn't booked all the way up until next year. It's rough trying to find professionals out here in the healthcare industry right now. But that's why there are some other options for you. Online therapy is an option for you. I get an Instagram ad daily for online therapy because they know that we all need some work. Have you heard me caution against using Instagram ads in general in the past? Yes, of course, because as with everything in life, do your own research. Don't just take things at face value that you're going to be cured of your BDD tomorrow by signing up with this unlicensed therapist. Don't just listen to some content creator out there, myself included, without doing your research first. You got to do your research, which I know is also not the fun part when you have trouble making decisions or even deciding, do I want to change the way that I am thinking right now? Maybe I like being stuck in this loop. Do you really? Do you really? Point being, yeah, some of these Instagram ads, they might not be ones you want to click on, but others are. There are some very reputable online therapy platforms out there for you to use with licensed professionals. If you want to work with someone who is an actual CBT therapist, please make sure they are licensed first. Please, please, please. You can work with coaches. You can work with other people out there who are not licensed. I'm just saying, if you want the real deal, please go with someone who is licensed. To me, online therapy, that's better than nothing. Heck, I've done both in person and online in the past, and I feel like I've gotten the same results. Of course, I did my research ahead of time. I found a provider that was reputable, was the right person for me, was a good match, but I didn't really see a difference between in person and online. It depends on your preference. It depends on your time availability, what you can afford, etc. If you don't want to go the therapy route, workbooks. Woo! More homework, more fun. Workbooks can be fun, right? They actually can. Some of them out there are a little boring. They drone on. It makes you not want to do them. But there's some very engaging workbooks out there that feel more like a journal and more reflective. Those are the types of workbooks that I live by. I can share some of the ones that I've used in the past. Off the top of my head, though, the one that has gotten a lot of hype is by Seth J. Gillihan, who has a PhD. He has over 20 years of experience as a CBT therapist specializing in anxiety, depression, and OCD. He was also a faculty member and director of research at the Center for the Treatment and Study of Anxiety. His workbook is called Retain Your Brain, cognitive behavioral therapy in 7 weeks. That's it, just 7 weeks. It's only $9 to $14 depending on where you buy it. And what I love is there are paper and electronic versions depending on the style that you like. There's even a narrated version on Audible. Not sure how that works as a workbook, but maybe they just read it aloud to you. I love audiobooks, so I feel like I would do that. I would listen to someone read it to me, and then I would write as I'm going along with them. I would look into that and how that works. But that might also be a good place to start is workbooks. If you don't know what other workbooks to go for, just go online and type in cognitive behavioral therapy workbooks. There are tons out there that you can choose from. But this one was one that was recommended to me. So again, that is Retrain Your Brain, Cognitive Behavioral Therapy in 7 Weeks by Seth J. Gillihan, PhD. Lastly, what about positive affirmations or things that you can do at home by yourself? Maybe that's why you're listening to this episode today, because you're like, I can do it on my own. I can just, right? I can look in the mirror and start loving myself. I just got to figure out how to speak to myself in a kinder way. As your big sis, or maybe your little big sis, I'm going to once again give you the cold, hard truth. BDD is not just negatively thinking about oneself that can be turned around with compliments or positive affirmations in the mirror every morning. No, these are deeply ingrained, distorted self-beliefs leading to cognitive dissonance and increased anxiety. My friend, you are stuck in a loop if you have this, and you will find every way to reject those positive affirmations until you seek professional help. That doesn't mean you're broken. As much as you might want it to, it doesn't mean you're broken. It just means that your brain thinks differently than other people, and you have a different genetic makeup, as we all do. So do yourself a favor. If you're stuck in this loop, go find a way to break the pattern, because you don't want to live your whole life looking in the mirror and seeing something that truthfully isn't there. We've done the research. We see it's not actually true what you're thinking about your body. Why not go and see someone to have a positive outlook, a more positive outlook on yourself and on life? You know, it might seem cumbersome right now, additional work that you don't want to do. Maybe you even like being stuck in that loop because you think it keeps you in a thinner state. To me, it just sounds mentally taxing and exhausting and something I wouldn't want to live my whole life with, and I don't want to see you live your whole life with. It's time to break the pattern. Like I said, a lot of people have requested this episode, so many, so you are not alone. But I hope you don't stay this way forever because it makes me sad. I might cut that. We'll see. All right, let's get into some listener questions. And I'm going to speed round this because I'm a little hungry. I'm ready for cake and my throat's getting dry and I don't have my water nearby me. So, speed round. We kind of had some unhinged questions this week anyways, not ones that I'm going to take super seriously. The first one I am. Alex, how is your search going? How is your job search going? I'm sad and frustrated about losing my job. First of all, I'm so sorry that you lost your job also. I am hearing that from a lot of people in my life right now, either followers, friends, family, etc. I think we're just in a crazy time, as we say every year. This is such a crazy time. But it is. The job market is so hard right now. People are losing their jobs due to lack of work. They're losing their jobs. Honestly, so many different things. Even just not being a good fit. Like, at-will employment is through the roof right now in America. It's like, we don't like the way you breathe, you're out of here. It's hard. It's really hard. So whatever your situation is, I'm sorry that you're going through that. No, you're not alone. I didn't foresee this coming or being a part of my bingo cards. But I don't want to use the cliche, everything happens for a reason, because, who wants to hear that when they just lost their job, right? Like, oh, everything happens for a reason. But I'm hoping for you, as I'm hoping for myself, that something better comes out of this. So I will remain hopeful for you, and I hope that you will also remain hopeful for you. How's my own job search going? Could be better. There's a lot of things I'm worried about in my job search that could impact either my decision or a hiring manager's decision. And also, I think where I'm stuck right now is just I want to make a solid decision on my next move, my next path, but I don't really know what that is. So how can I aim in that direction? Doing two things. I'm applying to both part-time HR jobs with the intent of going back to school, potentially for a different career path, or at the same time, I'm applying to full-time HR jobs. And then if I get something worthy there, I might stay in HR full-time. And then on the side, I'm still studying for my SHRM, although I keep going back and forth on that even, if I want to stay in HR or not. My thing is I've come this far already, why not just get it? But then I sit down to actually study for it. And the hard thing is, as I've mentioned before, I've kind of lost my passion a little bit for HR. It wasn't as strong as it was in the beginning. So I'm not as motivated in that arena. I'm hoping maybe if I get a full-time job that I love again and where I'm actually learning, because I feel like I wasn't learning towards the tail end of my job in my last career, and that's why I started getting so burnt out, among other things. I'm hoping that'll prompt me to want to get it again and want to actually pursue HR full on, strong, full time. I honestly don't think that's the way things are going, though. I think I might actually end up taking a part time job and going back to school and going towards a different career. I don't know. Time will tell. But that's really where I'm stuck at right now. So I'm applying to both full and part time HR jobs. If you have any recommendations or referrals, I would love that. I'm mainly looking for remote or hybrid. I've always worked remote or hybrid, which again, towards the tail end of my last job also became something I wasn't able to compromise on as much. I did, but I wasn't happy about it. So I am looking more hybrid remote. If I have to take a full on-site job, or again, if it's worth my time, I will. I'm very flexible. If you haven't noticed, I'm very flexible with my options right now, and I need to be very flexible. That's where I'm at with my job search. If you want to reach out to me on Instagram, we can chat. Let me know how yours is going as well. I would love to connect with you. On to the next. Wait, wait, wait. That's all the question said was wait. WEIGHT. So I guess they're asking me what my weight is right now. As I mentioned before, I do not share numbers when it comes to my weight, when it comes to how many calories I'm eating, etc. The only time I'll share numbers or things of that nature is if I'm sharing, I would say, like ideas or recommendations online for what other people aim for or what I have aimed for in the past. But currently, I don't share those things. I only share them if they don't do more harm than good. That makes sense. Hope that makes sense. That being said, I'm not going to share what my current weight is. I will tell you that today I am happily in a very healthy range for my height, for my age, for my gender. It took me a very long time to get here. I don't think I've been at a healthy weight since probably middle school before that, and I just reached a healthy weight last year. What I can also tell you about that now that I'm at a healthy weight and why I wish I had strived for that sooner. The mental fog is going away. I've had mental fog for so long. I have so much more energy. I sleep amazing at night, which I've always had terrible insomnia. My hormones are still out of whack. We're working on getting those underway. That was going to be another one of my lemons is my period is terrible today, you guys. I want to go do number 2 or out the other way in the bathroom. I'm not going to, but I just feel that way. I just feel nauseous and like crampy and gross. I hope my periods aren't this bad. I don't think they will be in the future, but at least I'm praying not. But yeah, my hormones are still like figuring themselves out from the years of restriction. Where was I going with this? Weight. Once you get to a healthy weight and your body starts sorting itself out, it's crazy in the beginning. Your blood sugar is going to be out of whack. Things are going to be out of whack. Your hormones are going to be out of whack. Once they regulate, though, oh my God, you feel so incredible. The only time I really feel like shit these days is that one time a month that I'm on right now. But otherwise, I feel like $1,000,000. Now, do I have days where, still I get the headaches or whatever, things don't feel right? Yeah, we're only human. You're not going to feel 100% of the time, but I will tell you, you'll feel astronomically better. Don't believe me? Go do your research on that as well. So that is where we are at today. Next question. Are you single? I love that people are so bold to go write this either on my Instagram or on my podcast questions. I'm not just going to DM you. I'm going to ask the public, are you single? Let me know, fam. Like, what? That was funny to me. If you were a regular listener to this podcast, honestly, on my Instagram too, you would know that I am in a happy relationship with my best friend, my ex-coworker now, which is sad to say. We're still very happily together. And yeah, I'm not looking to be single anytime soon at all. You know what I'm saying. So sorry, not sorry. I am off the market. Mic drop. All right, next question. I see that you had a golf-themed birthday party. I did. I posted on Instagram if you want highlights. Do you actually golf? No, sir or ma'am, I do not. I wish I did, though. I wish that is something my dad had taught me growing up because my dad's a businessman. I feel like that would be a very good business skill to have in the future. I've even had managers ask me before if I golf and if I wanted to go out and golf with them over the weekend. Said yes to some and figured I would just figure it out. Luckily, none of those actually came into fruition. But I feel like that would be a very good business skill to have is to go out and go golfing with someone. I want that so bad. But also at the same time, I don't want to start another hobby at this point in my life because I have too many. All you golf pros out there who are going to slide into my DMs like, Alex, no, you got to learn. No, please don't. I don't need any more hobbies. I have this as a hobby. I have rock climbing. I have Pilates. I do too much. I do too much. I need no other hobbies. No, thank you. Especially if I want to go back to school and work. No, 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 no. No. But I wish I golfed. I just thought that would be a fun little themed party. And it was putt-putt. Who doesn't love putt-putt? For those of you who don't know, I was very proud of my theme. It was a teeny bit older, like a golf tee, but then we did mini putt-putt and martinis or mocktails. Yeah, it was very fun. I had a very good time. Final thoughts in closing, because speaking of my birthday, I really want to go eat my cake. I'm so excited. I just can't imagine getting up every morning and looking in the mirror and just picking apart every inch of my body. There's so many other ways to be spending your time and living life. The hard truth that you also may not want to hear is people aren't looking at your body the way that you are. They really are not. You might see online all these people idolizing the skinny girls or whatever. When you're walking on the street, I don't look at someone and I'm like, oh my God, they're so skinny. Oh my God, they're so fat. No, I'm thinking about what I'm doing when I get home. People are selfish. They're thinking about them. They're thinking about, oh, I have to go pick up the kids from school. Oh, I have to go see my own wife or husband or significant other. Point being, people aren't looking at you all the time and picking apart your weight. They're really just not. The only person who's doing that is you. And so let's get you out of it. I could tell you you're beautiful in every single way until the cows come home. And you are. Every single one of you are. In my mind, I haven't even seen you yet. I think you're beautiful. But with that, you're not going to believe it for yourself unless you actually start working out that negative loop in your head. So I hope you will. If you like me yapping, if you like what I have to share today, if you just want to give me a very special birthday gift, because that would be very nice of you, then please go on, comment to this episode, like, share with a friend. Let's get the ball rolling on this because like I said, I love spending my time doing this. I love being here with you all week to week. I hope this doesn't sound too preachy. I honestly am just like an excited puppy who can't shut up about my mediocre amateur podcast. So with that, thank you for being here. I'm going to go eat my wedding cake, and happy non-birthday or birthday to those of you who are celebrating just the day. That's all I have. I love you all. Goodbye and be well.